Right, good evening. We're back now. So your background should have dried. Let me see if I can just zoom out a bit on this. No, that's as far as I can zoom out actually. There, but if you look, it's dried a lot lighter and you've got this nice sort of distant sort of lights twinkling in the background effect. So now what we've got to do is we've got to take off the masking fluid or drawing gum, as it can be sometimes called, which we put on to protect the bird, the drawing. Now, some companies say you can leave this on for however long. Personally, I don't like leaving it on more than the session that I'm using it. I've had a couple of bad experiences with either old masking fluid or a masking fluid that's not really good enough quality, or there's something amiss with it. So now there's two ways you can take it off. You can take it off using a rubber. So if you get your rubber and just literally pull it along like that, and then you can grab some of it and pull it. But just be careful when you're taking it off. Try and take it off as delicately as you can. Try not to leave any behind. It can, if you're not careful, if you leave it on too long, it can actually destroy your paper slightly. So, just be careful when you're taking it off. It's not ideal to take it off with your fingers because obviously you've got oils and whatever in your fingers and you don't want them on your picture. But I just find that sometimes that's the easiest and most efficient way of getting this off completely. So I'm just taking all of this off now. So that will now reveal the bird. There we go. Okay, make sure you've got all the bits off that you can. Yep. So we've now got the bird to work on with the colour pencil. So I'm just going to give it a good. There we go. So I've got any pencil lines there. I'm just going to remove them there because we've got this bird is quite light on the outside and we've got the background there, so we know where we're going now. So just on the outside, we can take away some of these pencil marks, which then won't show through on the finished work. There we go. Okay. And because when I went in with the brush, I went in with some small jagged areas. We've got this, so the bird isn't going to look like it's perfectly lined on the outside. Right then, let's get started. So I gave you a list of the materials. We're working on Saunders and Waterford hot press watercolor paper. There's my slice. I've got a normal eraser and I also have a excuse me. I do also have the small mono Tombow erasers as well. I've got them in both a round and hexagonal just in case I need those. Then we're going to come down to the colours. So in the Polychromos, I've picked now they're quite simple, the colours on this bird. There's not a lot of colours in them. They're not like a lot of they're sort of, well, they're in between the size of a blue tit and a great tit, but they're not as colourful. That's the thing. They aren't as colourful, but they are quite cute when you see them. Excuse me. So the colours, we haven't got an awful lot of colour, so this is going to make it a little bit easier. The exercise was as well to do this background on there so that, we need to make the bird pop. So on the Polychromos, I've got the black 199. We've got the warm grey 5. Whoops. Ooh, sliding over now. So we've got the warm grey 5. dark sepia, which I like to use, which is the 175, and also a walnut brown, which is the 177. Now, if you don't have Luminance and you've only got Polychromos, then obviously you're going to have to find the ones that are equivalent to these, which you probably will do. You will have. There's the white Luminance. I preferred that because it's more opaque. And the reason why I like Luminance as well is if you use them on the base layers, listening to other artists, how they work, and also by experimenting, I found that using these for your base layers, the Luminance, they're a waxy pencil. So they've got a soft core. So you could use Colour Soft or any waxy pencil. But if you do that as a base layer, we know Polychromos is great for detail. So use Luminance for your base layer. So when you come to use your ceramic blade, it does come away easier. That's what I found. So then we've got a steel gray, silver gray. I don't know. I mean, I may not use all of these. Now, the silver gray is a 002. It's not on the list, but I've added it just in case I need it. We have the French grey 10%. And we also have the French grey there. We have got slate grey 495. And we've got a violet grey here, which is nice for shadows. We've got a cobalt blue. And we've also got a steel grey. Okay, so I've given you a list with all the numbers on there. So if anybody's having problems, if you text me, I can tell you what some of the alternatives could be if you're using just one brand of pencils. I can have a look on my list that I have got somewhere. I haven't got to hand at the moment. But if you message me, I'll find the colour alternatives in the brand that you've got, if there are any, or the nearest one. Right then, so we've taken all this off. So now we've got this bird drawn on. So we can start to put some colour pencil on. I'm just lightening some of this pencil work because I don't want it quite this dark, because I say it has got quite a lot of light on it, but we still want to see the marks while we're doing the work. So don't take them away altogether. I usually work with them quite light because I can see them, but so you can see them with the camera. So to start with, we're going to use the Luminance white, or if you haven't got this, is Polychromos white. And usually as a base layer, I use warm grey one and cold grey one from the Polychromos range. But for this bird, because there's a lot of quite white areas on it, and I want something opaque, and because we're going to be using the ceramic blade to pull some of the fine feathers out, then I've opted for the Luminance white. So with the Luminance white, we're going to do quite a firm pressure, and we're going to cover the whole of the bird. So we're going to do the whole area. Okay. I'm even going to do the little branch that's coming out. So just take your time, quite firm pressure, and just make sure you cover every section. Okay. It isn't necessary to actually follow the direction of form just yet, because we're just doing the base layer. But if you can, it gets you into good habits. So now you may not see this on the screen, but I can assure you you'll see it on your paper. So, and if you just move it in the light, then you'll see where you're going as well. Okay. Pull my thing down. So I'm making sure that every bit of this is covered. Okay. his chest. Careful on the beak. Okay, around the top of the head. The eyes. Okay. Don't have to have an exceptionally sharp pencil to do this. A bluntish one will do, because it's coverage that we're wanting, and pigment. We're wanting lots of pigment down, and we're covering a large area. So, you know, a pointed pencil would probably, it could damage your paper, and also it's going to take you a lot longer, and you'll not get, you'll not get the coverage that you're looking for. So just take your time, make sure. I don't know if you can see that where we have covered it. You should be able to see where we haven't yet done. Just there. All of this all covered, but it's just this bit here now. I mean, as long as you can see it when on the piece that you're working on, that's the important bit. You'll start to see the colours come in a minute when I start moving on to other areas. As I say, this is just a base layer, and it's to give us, it's to smooth some of the paper out, but also it does make it a lot easier if we're using the ceramic blade to get some of the feather marks in. If you've got a soft waxy pencil underneath, and the only ones I've got at the moment are Luminance. I do have Lightfast, but again, they're oily, like the Polychromos. Polychromos is my main pencil usually, but as I say, this time we've got a light bird as well, so it's giving us a good base for the light colour. Right, I'm just going to sharpen that because it's now quite blunt. Okay. So, right then, so we've got that done. So let us move on now to the eye. So this time we want a Polychromos. We're going to use, you could use a black, but I'm going to go in first with the dark sepia. That's the one I prefer to use when I'm starting. And as long as I've got a nice sharp point. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to outline the inner part of the eye first. So come around there, because we do have a ring that goes around. So I'm just going to actually sort of dot that in quite lightly with this pencil, just so I know when I'm putting the black cap on where I'm going. Now, I have also included in the downloads, I have included a close-up of the eye so that you can see where the highlight is, which is up this end of the bird. And then we've got this dark section there. And then what I'm also going to use then is I'm actually going to use the steel grey colour in this section of the eye. Okay. It's not a great deal in detail in this eye, but then this comes down, there's some sort of thing reflecting in his eye there. This will be made darker later, but I just want to go back around, make sure we've got that nice crisp outline for the eye. Okay. And then that bit there, and then it's a little bit of the darker bit there. Okay, so that'll do for now for the eye. Might need to come up here a little bit, probably left a little bit of the highlight. So I'm leaving the highlight white for now. Okay, so that's the start of the eye. So now we're going to use, from the Luminance, we're going to use this violet grey. So it's got like a purpley tint to it. It's a grey, but it's got a purple tint to it. Now, if you look at your picture, the reference picture, which is a beautiful reference picture, which I got from Pixabay. I use that quite a lot for my references, because a lot of, if you go to the free images section, then just double check every time there's a license information that's included there in the picture before you download it. So have a look and just double check that it is license free, because this one is. Right, though, that's the one with the eye. So let me just. So this one was done by Eric Carrots. It's a lovely photo. It's a lovely photograph, because photographing birds isn't the easiest thing on this planet to do. But this is why I look on Pixabay. I have started. Now I've got an attachment for my camera on my phone. I have started taking some good close-up pictures of birds of my own. I'm just having to sort them out a little bit first, but I've got one of a puffin. I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook, but that's going to be one of my projects shortly. So I have started now doing my own reference photographs as well. But as I say, if not, you can use Pixabay free imaging, or the other one is called Unsplash, and that has some free images on. I wouldn't advise you to go on to Google and Google Images, because a lot of those will be copyrighted, and it won't give you that information as such. So, just be careful and make sure that the references you're using aren't copyrighted. But also, if you can remember to please acknowledge the photographer, because, as I say, without their work, you wouldn't be able to do your work. So as I say, Eric Carrots, this is a beautiful reference photograph of the Willow Tit. So this is the one that I've used. So I'm looking at his black cap. So here on the top, he has a black cap. And it's got up here at the top, if you squint, so if you shut your eyes, you'll see where you've got the light and the dark area. So up here is a little bit lighter, but it's also got a bit of a purple tinge to it. So using a lightish pressure and in the direction of form, we will put some of this violet grey, sorry, and at the back here there's quite a bit of it. Okay, the top of his head, because the light's hitting it, it's going to be a lot lighter. So that comes right down and also curves round here and then comes into this area. Okay. So if anything, it doesn't matter if you're going into the darker area, because by adding the darker colours, it'll darken it up anyway. So there we go, using quite a light pressure. We've got the violet grey in there. Okay. So that's using the Luminance. Now we're going to use the steel grey, and we're going to go over the violet grey area as well. So with the steel grey, so the steel grey is the 004, so this is more of a bluey grey. So where we've just been with the violet grey, with light pressure, just go over with the steel grey. Okay, so that gives it a little bit more of a bluey purple tone. Okay. So you can see I'm not actually putting any feather detail in at the moment. I just want to get the base layers down. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of that violet grey here, because it's just looking at the reference photo. quite like that. It's like a little tuft of hair, feathers there. Okay. Again, I'll just go over that section with the steel grey. Right, so the next bit that we need to do is we're going to go over so we're going to go over with the slate grey, and we're going to go over the darkest areas and into where the lighter areas are in the direction using a light to medium pressure, and we're going to cover the total area. Okay. So the slate grey is Luminance again, and it's the 495. So this is a darker grey. Okay, so I'm looking at the overall picture. I'm actually going to mark some of these directional pieces in now. It's around there. Darker there. Here. Keep looking at your reference photograph. Actually look at my reference photograph probably more than I look at my work. It's down here. Then we've got this ring that goes around the bird's eye. Okay. Keep looking at which way these feathers are going, because we are now wanting, we're still only sort of blocking in, but at the same time we want to make sure that we're going in the, if we do a shading motion and go in the right direction. Now the very small, the feather-like strokes on this part of the head, and then as we come further around the back, you'll find that they do get a lot longer and more straight. So here they come down there like that. Now here they're sort of, if you look at how they hit the white bit, they're not exactly straight, so make sure you do get this little bit of a zip. So it's not a perfectly straight line across there. There is a bit of a kink there, and then that goes out into the white. And also it comes a little bit around here. So we do get a little bit there. Okay. So now I'm just pulling the pencil. I'm looking at some darker areas up here. Down here. There. So that's the slate grey over there. Okay. Okay. So once we've got that, we want some French grey in the brown areas, which are, if you look again at squinted at your picture, it's mainly around the eyes. So you want the French grey, which is a luminance pencil again, and it's the 808. Now we're just doing, so squint at your picture, and it's just basically in the darkest section here. Oops, excuse me. Just around here, it's got like a brownie. So we're not putting too much pressure on. We don't want to have it looking brown, but it has got a brown sort of tinge to it here around its eye. And if you look around its eye, it goes like that. So it's you've got to look at the direction properly. It's because here it's coming out that in that direction, and then it's coming round in that direction. So you come in around that way, So this is like again, like a clock face. Make sure you go round properly that way. And then on this side, you just pull it that way a little bit. Okay, so we've got that bit of a darker colour in there. And then back to the slate grey and a bit slightly firmer pressure. And we're going to go back over with the slate grey. But this time, as we come into these lighter areas, we're just going to release our pressure. So I'm actually going to sharpen this a little bit now because I want to put a bit more detail in. Okay, so I'm looking, we've got some dark sections here. Comes around here. Comes around this little tufty bit there. And if you look, as I say, look at the direction, it comes round here. It comes some darker areas here. There's a few bits of dark here. Then just lighten your pressure off as you go into the lighter areas, okay? It comes around here. Lighten the pressure off here. Again, lighten your pressure up here. Dark area here. Curve it round there at the end, okay? There we go. So that's building up nicely. So we're going to emphasize the lighter feathers again with the steel grey, overlapping the lighter parts into the dark parts. Okay, so the steel grey, and then also what we're going to do, I'm going to sharpen it up a little bit because I'm also going to put, you know, the ring around the eyes, the outer ring. I'm just going to put some colour in there. So we're going to use this steel grey. So light pressure around there. Okay. And then this lighter area on the top again. I'm just going over sort of glazing direction of the feathers, but I'm overlapping it into the darker area so that it blends. It'll give us some kind of blend. So it's quite light all along this top and the back bit there. Okay, so you can see now that's starting to blend in nicely. Okay. I'm going to take the black Polychromos now. I used the sepia when I first did the eye. Now I know I'm quite happy with it. I just want to block it in now with the black Polychromos. I'm looking at this shadow bit there. There's that little piece there, and there's a little that way. And then I'm just going to get the steel grey again. Put some in this corner here because it's a lot lighter in that corner. And a little bit up there. Also, we've got this bit of a bit darker down here. The outline of the eye's got to be a bit, that's it, a bit darker. Okay. Yeah. I've done that. And then we're going to use the black Polychromos and the feather strokes, and we're going to put a layer of black on the cap using a light to medium pressure. Okay. And the strokes will get longer as we get further to the back. But follow the feather direction. So I'm just looking at it now. So I'm going to keep looking at it. Now the feathers are shorter around here, a lot shorter. So you're going to want small So I'm looking how it starts here. Okay, so it's coming that way, and these tiny strokes. Okay, into there. Then it comes around this tufty area there. Okay, and when you're going into a lighter area, just release your pressure a little bit as you're going up into that lighter area. So there, that comes back round and starts to curl that way. Got a few bits of dark up here. Some dark going into these tufts just there. This dark piece here. Okay. Down here, that dark going in there. So coming from here, it's coming up that way. And then it curls round the ring of the eye and starts to go that way. There we go. And here's where it gets a bit darker. So don't forget, curve your pencil. Always following the direction. Okay. So here is where the strokes start to get that little bit longer on the back of the head. Again, keep looking the direction. That bit there. And then we come up to this bit where it sort of goes back into this. Some straggly bits of feathers there. Just enough the pressure, as I say, as we come in round. And these are a lot smoother and longer. I'm using medium to firm pressure here. So we do want to get this nice dark colour, but we don't want to use just black on its own because I say black on its own it looks flat. So this is why we've built up some of the colours underneath, so it gives it some depth and also some saturation. Okay. You can see it's starting to get darker now as we work over there. So now I'm looking at it now. So I want to highlight the edge of the black cap with the white luminance, and then I'm going to go back over, I think, with the black. So I just want to, so across the top bit here is, if you look at it, if you look at your reference, you can actually see some more definite. So use a sharper white. Let me just sharpen this a little bit more so I can put a little bit of detail in with the white luminance, because I say this is a nice opaque pencil, and also on the edge of these bits here. Okay. On the top there, it's the back, it is very light. Then we have some lighter areas just here. A little bit more light around the eye there, just that bit of the ring. There we go. That's it. So you can start to see now the little tufts of the feathers, because these are sort of feathers, but they're like a down. They've got a downy feel to them. They're the soft, short feathers. They're not the individual feathers that you see on birds or what you associate. So now I'm just actually going to put some slate grey just on this. No, in fact, I'm going to use the French grey. Looking at it, I'm just going to use this French grey, which is the Luminance 808, and it's what we put round here for the brownie effect. So if you look at this little tufty bit of it comes over onto his beak. That's sort of that colour as well. Okay, so now go back with the black. There you go. So now you can start to see these tufts of black. So don't forget, as we go around the ring on his eye, we sort of keep following, just keep looking at your reference and make sure you go in and you curve at the right time. These tufts don't want to be sort of straight lines. You want to sort of cross them over a little bit. Okay. That. Back up here. It's quite dark just here. Then we come back round here. We can pull the pressure off a little bit because it isn't quite as dark here. Okay. Some looser feathers, soft feathers here as well. So we can put some of them in. Some of these loose ones that we've got here. Yeah. There. Okay, so can you see how that's now looking? But you can see where the light's hitting it there. Okay, so we've got that bit done. So let's have a look now at his beak. For the beak, I'm going to use I need to sharpen this pencil. I'm going to use the light cobalt blue. Okay. If you look carefully, you can see it's not totally black. We've got black here, which I probably will darken up again later. But we've got the light hitting, which gives it a sort of, makes black look, you've got the blues in the black coming out, the cooler colours. But we've also got sort of, in this area here, we have got some the French grey, which gives it that little browny colour. But it's also like you've got the purples in there as well, which is what you see when you are using black. So on this shiny part of the beak, we're going to use the cobalt blue. And I'm going to go over that little tufty bit again. Okay, so just there is where we've got the cobalt blue. And then for the underneath bit, I'm going to use a violet grey again. Sorry, a warm grey 5 in the Polychromos, but I'm going to use the violet grey. If I look at it, there's a few bits of, at the top beat where it's whitish, we've got a few bits of the violet grey, which are the shadows. So we've only got the very light, so just use a bit of light pressure there where the beak is there. These have got the violet grey in the, and there's a little bit coming out into that blue just there. Then underneath, that's where the underneath bit is there. So we've got underneath, so that comes round here, up there. And then it gives us that, got that round bit there. Now, comes up there. And that comes down into the bottom part of the beak. There. Okay. And then we've got this white. So I'm just going to try and put this white, the lighten the whiter area just a little bit. So across here, we've got some white. Just across that tuft, just there. And then that's where the white goes in there. So I'm just going to mark in. So this is like the warm grey. So that's like smooth looking. And it comes up here. Then it goes into that sort of semicircle of feather bits there. So down here, we've got a white section and then we've got the darker section. So to mark that off, I'm going to use a slate grey and the black. So I'm going to use the slate grey from the Luminance range. So if you see from here, we've got this. I'm just going to lightly put it in with some jagged edges because that's where the, and then if you turn it around, you'll see how we've managed to get. So we can do this with some of the slice as well later on. So underneath the beak area, there we've got this sort of square section. I'm going to use the black for the center because that then separates that from the beak color, which is what it's on there. And then it's got sort of little tiny strokes, but you can see some of the white bits of the feather coming through as well. Like that. And then lift as you come into this lighter area. We've got some broken bits here. Okay. That bit there. So I'm just actually going to fill some of this in, get this as dark as it needs to be. And it probably will go darker, but for now, just want to, it's got a lot of white in there, then the dark, and then dark again. And then up here it's black. And then we've got fades off there, a little bit more black there. The back bit's coming from this side. So just keep looking at your reference photograph all the time. Okay, so I'm plotting them in, but I probably will make them look darker later on. Okay, so you can just hear at the back, if you look, we've got some darker feathers just coming in. So I'm just using a very light, in fact, I'm going to use the dark sepia, I think, where we've got some of these bits of feathers coming in there. And then down here we have got, this is like a sepia, so we've got, I'm just going to put in, this is the negative where I'm pushing it into the white, but we will use the blade as well to get some of this out. Just for now, I'm just plotting in where all these colours are going to go. Okay, and then just pull that lighter, just lighten that off as we come there. Okay, probably going to go down here. Okay, we'll leave it for that for now. And then we'll probably complete it on the next video. I just, in fact, I think I'll just do, we have a look at this top section here. If you look, it's got a blue colour to it. But it's a bluey grey. So I'm going to use I'm going to use the steel grey. So I'm looking around here and I'm just going to pull out a little bit of the steel grey. Just coming around this eye. And it's coming. So down here we've got quite a bit of steel or the bluey grey colour. Down here. So I'll probably add a bit of slate grey to that as well. And if you look, just keep at your mind the direction of fur, but also the length of the fur that's quite short. Feathers. God, I'm used to doing fur, that's why. And if you know that they are a lot smaller, and then we've got this colour here as well. And just look at the direction and the length. Okay. So I'm going to rub some of these using my small rubber. I'm going to rub some of these pencil marks out because I don't want them to, if pencil gets in with the coloured pencil, it can sometimes look a bit muddy. And because this is quite a light area, at the end of the day, I don't want it to look muddy. Okay. So I'm looking, and that sort of colour comes there. We have bits of it coming up here as well. From this around here. Okay. And I've got some of this coming out of this part of the chin or the chest area as well, which then goes into this darker area. So I've got that little bit in. So what I'm going to use as well is I'm going to use some slate grey, I think. Because we use some in here, so we can pull some little bits and tufts out of here. Just use your light pressure again, and then as we get into the whiter area, just release your pressure a bit. Okay, and then we've got some quite tufty colours here. Small bits here. Tiny bits there that go around this eye. Some that come down here. Blend all this out. Okay. That's building the chest area up. Okay, so I have to look at it, fetch it up there for you to see. I think I can zoom in on it. Let me just have a look. I've got this in the right. Oops. Zoom in. There we go. You can zoom in a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to tidy this eye up again. Sure, we've got these darker bits there. And if you see me turning my pencil, because what I'm doing is I'm turning it as I'm using it just so that I can keep the point sharper for longer. Okay, so this is the darkest part at the top of the head. And then we've got this dark section there that comes down here. Around there, joins onto there. And then that bit comes. Okay, and then I'm going to use a bit of dark sepia, I think, in this ring, just down here. And if you look, it's not a. It's got. It's not a straight edge. Some of the dark goes in. So it looks like there's little lines around the outer edge of the eye. Okay, and then a little bit of dark sepia in here because that's a browny black. So you'll see that browny colour in there as well. Okay. And down here, I'm going to put some of this dark sepia. Like that. And then just going to glaze a little bit of cobalt blue around this area. So it leaves that bluey in the direction of form. A small amount of the blue there. And also some of it coming up from here. Just like that. Okay. Back to the black. And then lightly loosening the pressure as we go into the lighter area. Where's the violet grey? I've got this violet grey on this beak, right, just there. Some white. There, and then we have the Polychromos warm grey 5. Again, I'm just going to go over that there. Better. Only a small beak, but if we can get some detail in, that'll be nice. So we've got in this little Tombow rubber just to make sure we get some of that white in at the beak there. Have a look with me. Oh, there we go. Have a look with my ceramic blade. That is on first, I think. Taking out some of these little bits of feather lines that we could see. So there's a little bit of white on the beak, make sure that's there. And highlight. Okay. And then up here at the top, I'm just gonna we've got some nice feather markings there. And in. Some quite a little bit longer ones here at the back. Very light touch on the ceramic blade. You don't need to be heavy with that at all. We're going to build this area up next time a little bit more, just so we can add some more. We can use the blade a little bit more. Now that's a little bit, I'm just going to lighten that off a little bit here. And then put some white luminance in it, because that's a little bit lighter up here. That's it. Make sure that highlights there, make sure that's plenty. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that one for now. And then we can come back and we'll do the rest of it, and then we'll start to darken it up a bit more and add as much more detail as we need to. Okie dokie. So I shan't be long, and we'll be back. Do some more on this shortly. Okay.